Good evening. Welcome to Waking God's Child YouTube channel. I'm here with my co-host Candy Nelson, and we have a guest host tonight, Daryl from Tennessee. We hope everyone's doing well tonight. Hello, Kat. I saw your comment. I want you to know I've noticed it. Wanted to comment. I know we're coming on a little late. My apologies. I see we already have 12 people on here waiting, and let me just get rid of that background noise because that's my own mouth moving twice now. So I'm going to give a little intro here with Daryl from Tennessee. And so tonight we're joined by him. He is like myself and Candy and many of you watching and waiting, and he knows firsthand the reality of the Morgellons disease or syndrome, what some of us like to call it. So our guest, Daryl, is not only a fellow sufferer, but also a fighter. And yes, I'm still reading. Am I doing it pretty good? Pretty
Yeah, that's
good. Okay,
fine.
here we go. I'm gonna
Fine.
just keep on with it. So, all right. So, despite the struggles and hardships, which we all know on how that goes, and there's been a ton on his portion as well, as all of us, and the common grounds we've talked about before being rock bottom and a series of unfortunate events. It seems to be, but there's also a spiritual portion to this. So he's turned his journey, his own true journey, into one of resilience and growth. And recently, just recently, my understanding, Daryl, is that you started your own homesteading type of area. You worked towards it, took a lot of hard work, was able to purchase land in Tennessee, and building his own sustainable living area with his own home and shop that he's built with his own two hands. So, taking away everything he's ever known, grown up with in life, starting over with something he was unfamiliar with, but knowing that it was his calling, and I'm going to leave that part on that note, but Daryl has landed on his feet, like all of us, or many of us, I should say, do, refusing to let the weight of this world keep him down. And I think that's probably the portion that drives all of us harder when you're brought to your knees, you're down on them, and you just think you can't get back up, and you suddenly do. You know that that's God first and foremost, and you also know that you have no quit in you. So he continues to discover more about where he truly is in life and what he's capable of. So Daryl, that was my own perspective of what I kind of, I guess, arrived at after speaking with you and getting to know you over the past few days. And Candy, you've heard that as well. So I know Candy can relate to much of your story, as probably everyone on here. Kim Blanchard, hello, hello. All right, so we've got Kat and Kim here. We actually have 12 people. If you don't be shy, please. So you step right up, and speak. So, with that said, and that intro, I am going to ask Daryl if you'd like to go ahead and just tell everyone a little bit about yourself, if you wouldn't mind, and a little bit of how you first arrived with Morgellons, what lies beneath, and what also lies, like as in an actual lie beneath. But what was your first, I guess, idea that something was, or your thought that something was not right, something was off, you knew it wasn't right, and your body was doing some strange, bizarre things. And I'm going to 3, 2, 1, let you take that away.
Yeah, well, so it was back in 2016, so it's been about 10 years now, and I think that's pretty common time period for other people as well. It started as just a little bump on my left arm, and it just wouldn't go away. And eventually, like, it kind of hurt, and then I like wanted to explore it a little bit and see what was going on there.
Right.
And I just assumed it was a bug bite, and I've been outdoors all my life, and I've had a lot of bug bites that sometimes persisted or got a little infected or whatever. So I didn't really worry about it too much. And then it spread, I started noticing a scar that just kind of started spreading in a certain direction, and a sore there. So that's kind of how it started, and it really took me a long time to realize that whatever this was really, really weird. But obviously nothing worked, no peroxide and alcohol and all those things you do to try to clean it out, make it better. So I went to the doctor, and I think he prescribed me Zoloft or something like that, and an antibiotic. But I decided to quit smoking right about that time. A lot of things happened right about that time, right? So, I don't know if I'm going to get into all of this too much of it right now, but I had
Go right at it.
this really, really weird, I don't even know if it was a dream or a vision. I'd say, well, I guess it was more like a vision, because I was like in my driveway working on a Saturday. I had a lot going on emotionally. I can't explain that, but it just kind of built up, and I wound up having this vision. And I can't explain the vision because it won't mean anything to anybody else. I've tried and it just doesn't work.
You might be
But
surprised. You're in a group of people here that actually are going through those exact things. So you're in a good
well,
spot. It's up to
the
you.
vision for me was about, like, I wound up in some lady's car. Like, I was in her car and I was looking at her, and she's just driving up the road freaking out because she's late for something. And like in the vision, that told me that, like, this is you, the average person, overcommitted, all these like worldly things you're doing, and you're not happy. And I kind of empathized with it. And the area I lived in was just like booming part near Atlanta. That was just really, really, I don't know what you call it. Like, I call them yuppies, I guess, but like golf courses everywhere, and pretty wealthy people that have every minute of their day scheduled out with sports and everything else that they do and the kids do. And I was trying to take part in that lifestyle a little bit. And I don't know. I could say God, I guess, cut me short really quickly. And so my vision was that in the car, and then it went on to not really. I really can't even hardly remember it all right now because it's been so long. But what I wound up realizing is that, like, I'm really not worshiping God in the way I live my life. And de facto way, I'm actually quite doing the opposite. I'll call it mammon or worldliness, which is just kind of like what my focus was on at the time. I had just told the Lord before, Lord, I give up. I'm trying to make people happy, and I just want to have a good time. And who am I kidding? I'm riding the fence here.
Yeah.
Well, I surrendered to the world, actually, like, and then I had this vision. And so, and kind of the last thought that went through my head was just that, like, revelations. And I spoke it out of my mouth. I said, revelations. And I said, I knew it. And I said, we're going through it. And that was kind of the end of it. And I mean, it's so profound for me, but for anybody I've explained it to, it's just, I'm wasting my time for the most part. But that was a 180-degree turn in my life for the most part. I had a lot to work on, but I had to, for me, like, the one thing I just had to do, and I came out of that and I had to do it, is I had to quit smoking, because I was smoking like a lot at this time. And I had to cut back on the drink, and I never really quit all the way. I just needed to, like, not let those things have power over me. And I just had to get out of that. And it just kept going from there. I started watching videos on YouTube and I probably was already watching some videos on YouTube, but that was just when all the truth was coming out on, like, the video world. And it's kind of dumb, like, because, like, people actually said to me, like, eventually when I've got this Morgellons and stuff, they're like, it's because you're watching all those videos on YouTube. You need to quit doing that.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. No.
weird,
Yeah. That's when you don't shut up. You got louder, didn't you? I did too.
It's just so weird, though, that, like, other people were like, you're being punished for what you're into, and it's like, I can't quit now. Like, I've stepped out of society now. Like, I'm just not
There
with
is no
everything
turning
anymore.
back, folks. Hey, Daryl, we have Kat and Kim both asking when your onset was. How long ago? When did it start for you?
So 2016, I would say, probably in the springtime. And it's always, for me, it's always seemed bugs related.
March
And
here. Yeah.
And I don't know if that it's in my body and it just migrates to where the bugs bite me, or if the bugs are like just like working as little drones and it doesn't affect most people, but it only affects.
No, they're incorporated into the.
Well, I got a good explanation for that. What's a GMO? It's a genetically modified organism.
Sure.
So if you're taking living organisms and you're putting in the food supply and people are eating it, we put
Mhm.
off pheromones from those genetically modified organisms. So we
Right.
attract the bugs because of that.
On
Well, and
top of
I've
that,
always
like,
been
some
like,
people are pulling out Oh, I'm sorry, Daryl. Some people
yeah,
are
I've always
pulling
been
out
like,
blood parts, though, right?
Yeah, but they're
To
mostly
do
mutated. They're mutated. So,
Yeah,
it's like,
right. But they're growing inside the body as well. I guess
yes,
I know for a fact they are. I've seen it.
it
well,
looks
you
like
take
that.
the DNA
Yeah.
of a living organism and put it into another living organism that has DNA, you're going to create new life forms.
All right, so it's my bug baby, basically. It's
I
terrifying.
mean, it looks like little pupa things sometimes,
Yeah,
with a little sharp
eggs.
tail or something, little stinger.
Yeah,
It's all genetically modified. There's no doubt about that. I often think it's like some kind of modified bacteria that is like working its way through your body and just building
fungus.
something that's some kind of technology that's just going through everybody's body. I mean, it's weird stuff, but we're getting into this like augmented human reality moving forward. So, you know,
2.0.
yeah, everything I know is they want to bring the technology inside and get rid of like some of the devices we use.
You betcha. You know what? I'll
Well,
tell you what. The thing is, there's a spiritual portion as well to
yes,
this.
very much
Wouldn't you
so.
say?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
and that's
mean,
something somebody said too, that the technology moving forward is going to take what we've always known as sorcery and witchcraft and incorporate into more of a technological system that is controllable more easily without all the mantras and all that. It could be push of a button type stuff.
exactly, exactly. And
So
there's a lot to it. I mean, so to me, the fungal component, everyone's got to realize fungus is intelligent. I mean, there is an underground fungal network that works very intricately together, spread throughout the whole earth. I mean, they're throwing their spores into the air, which is how they procreate and keep on reproducing. I mean, the spores, like all of this interconnects with something that's way more intelligent than I think that the human race gives credit to. And we also know that fungal gnats, where there's fungus, there will be bugs, fungal gnats,
yeah,
different portions of it. But I think someone being, we gotta remember whose world this is, which belongs to Satan, as I've believed my whole life. Um, so somebody figured out that there is an intelligence to the fungal networking, which there certainly is. And I think even crop circles, in my own opinion, when you're seeing these intricately, displays in the crop circles throughout the earth, there's some that you can see, okay, I can see man making that, right? But there's others that you just have to scratch your nugget on, right? And say, I don't know. And when someone wants to say alien, I almost feel like we have ley lines. We have the equator. I believe Earth was set up as a power grid, as a circuit board. I mean, and if you Google Earth, you can clearly see the circuitry, especially the old world. You can see it clearly, even the remnants of it. And who's to say that the fungal portion of that, which obviously has magnetic qualities as well, hasn't networked together to create these, and maybe that's the alien species some would like to call, but also the demonic portion that most of us that are spiritual and believe in scripture and old tablets, maybe that's what that is. I don't know, but I know that in Gobekli Tepe, right? So that ancient, they're saying it's old as the hills. But then we've got these Peruvian excavations going on, where they're going and they're finding these tunnel systems. First of all, these structures are massive, huge,
right.
beyond anything we could do. But they're going down into these tunnel systems, and there was one man that came out deathly ill because of the mold that was in there, and he took his mask off for just a mere moment. And I guess he went to, rub his eye or something. He was deathly ill and almost passed away from it. And he said it was a mold like he'd never seen. He could see it crawling up the walls. And the reason that resonated with me is because I've seen this stuff do that. And I'm willing to bet most of you have seen your walls kind of move at night and watch that, what we think as a nanotech maybe. But I just think that there's a lot of interconnections upside down, crossways, and every which way you look going on. And there's a lot to it. It's a ginormous puzzle. Wouldn't you think or say? I know Candy's, kind of along those lines, right, Candy?
Oh, God, yes.
Well,
I
I
told
mean,
you
if you're
about that.
talking about like a poltergeist effect, that is definitely possible. I don't think it's from Morgellons, but I think Morgellons is like, it's like a body hack that can work with. For example, like if you like, I've seen something like in my blood that looked like there was a living thing in there, but it wasn't there.
Oh,
And that's something everybody
they're there.
knows, that blood allows things to. Did I lose?
No. I said, oh, but they're there. You didn't imagine it.
Yeah.
I
Well,
disagree on that.
in any kind of like satanic sacrifice and ritual, the blood is shed and there to
Power of the
give
blood.
like the spirits the ability to kind of show themselves in a sense, or to kind of be part
Blood
of this realm.
Blood
Yeah, but
sacrifice, which makes sense, right?
Yeah, but they
Blood
kind of
sacrifice.
crossed over through the veil that way, And so
Agreed.
often I've been looking at myself shedding all this blood and be like, is this like some kind of strange witchcraft, and I'm like participating in it somehow by like bleeding all the time, and cutting myself. I really don't cut myself, but just it bothers the heck out of me. So I'm inspecting constantly, trying to get something
I
out of
cut
there.
myself constantly, but not on purpose. But Candy and I can both vouch for the fact that they go to try to take blood from us, and it's damn near impossible, first and foremost, right, Candy? But I mean, I told you the story of my blood turns to gel. And we know for a heart to work properly and the components within the human, body and form, that blood has to flow freely. Flowing too fast, means your blood is thin. You could bleed to death if you get cut. But I mean, if it turns to gelatin, there's no flow. And if there's no flow, what's keeping the heart pumping? And then that leaves you, because I mean, I had doctors are like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And I ended up with, it was sepsis and pneumonia, but they still sent me home, even though they watched my blood turn into gel. I watched my blood
Can
fall
you
on the floor
explain
all
that a
night
little
and
more?
okay, so.
Can you explain that? Like when your blood was in the vial, it turned to gel, like a big blood clot, or when it was like.
It was like my urine was gelatin, like gelatin.
That's weird.
They asked me to go pee in the cup. That's a very common request. I
Yeah.
mean, no, the second I picked my cup up, it was gelatin. They
That's
had the
weird.
hardest time. Candy as well as went through this, just trying to hit the vein and get it. But I'm vascular. Like there is no, like I have veins from here to tomorrow, and never had problems with blood. But it was gel, can you imagine strawberry jello? That's what it was. And
So outside of your body, right? Outside of your body.
Well, there'd
all of a
be
sudden
no
it's
real way to
like
know
flow.
because you can't see what was going on inside. But I mean, you know what I mean? So there's not a real way to know. But what was coming out was gelatin, like gelled blood.
Yeah.
And I've
When
watched
I
my blood droplets fall on the floor and do some strange things. So
Well, when I
it's
had
not in
my
your head. You know what you're saying?
when I had my breast surgery, I had those drain tubes in, and it was collecting the blood. So I was like put in baby food jars and labeling it. I told you I was going to scope it, but I went to go dump it out, and it was just nothing but clumps of goo. And I was like, I
Yeah.
couldn't even do anything with it.
And not like a regular blood clot, correct?
No, it was like like gel, like you said, it was gooey.
Yeah.
Well, have y'all ever seen the video? It was a French guy. It's real old. It's real short. And the guy gets on there, and this is back in the 80s or something. He said, first thing they're going to do, they're going to poison the blood. And then he got to talking about how they can like have these nanocrystals that go into your brain, and then they can control people with that. And then the guy was like, think Rwanda. And
100%. I've heard that. Yep. I have. I've heard that same thing. Well, I mean, these crystalline things that we pull out of our bodies. And I think you were talking about that, Daryl, in one of your videos. By the way, people, he has a YouTube channel. Please subscribe to him. Um, say your handle again, please.
Survival against all odds. It's really not active very
Well, it will
much,
be soon,
but
right?
it could anytime it could turn, you know.
Yeah. You talked about that though, and what your thoughts were as far as how they're turning to crystals and whatnot. I mean, the thing is,
Right.
and Kat brought up a good point too. Where she said that there have been some studies that show that fungi, can grow, move, and do things by acoustic sounds, and to me that goes back to frequency. And I've always said God spoke us into creation, which is frequency. Everything is frequency. Everything, even magnetism, has its own frequency. So when you change the tune, so to speak, to life, I think you can experience pretty much anything. But fungi is super, super intelligent, and I think we discredit it because after delving in deep, I found so many U.S. patents and other studies involving fungi going way back to the early centuries that, like how would they know kind of thing, but they were figuring it out. And the networking that these fungal mycelium especially, they work together and everyone's heard of the zombie ant virus, right? Where we know the fungi takes over the host and controls the body, which I mean, it'll make you think because if it's intelligent enough to do that to an insect, and just because our world's saying, but it can't happen to humans, I call their bluff because anything and everything's possible. There is no such thing as not possible, and I learned that the hard way when people didn't believe me with what was going on. But I was old enough to know better. You guys were old enough to know better. You know your bodies better than anyone. Nobody can tell you what you're seeing and not seeing. You don't wake up one day crazy, right? You wake up knowing and aware and awake. So, I'm just
Oh
saying,
yeah,
right?
and by the way, I've been through the whole being just rejected by friends,
Yeah,
family, everything, even without talking about it. I chose to
we're well past that.
pretty quickly. I chose pretty quickly to just keep it to myself, But it
Not
was
me.
just like it just has an effect on people. I can't understand it.
Oh, it made me get louder and make me certain to not keep it to myself. In fact, to be so loud that I would annoy the hell out of them by doing so. And that wasn't even the right way. The thing is, God says everything's all in His timing, and He will awaken those that are meant to awaken in His time. And then that's just if and when. But He did
And
put a few of us here to help that out. So I firmly believe that we can't stop trying. I believe
yeah,
in
I
trying.
just posted that on my Facebook today about how when I went public, it was because I was so angry that, people were being alienated and their husbands was like taking their kids away. They were losing their jobs. I mean, it was just, you know, thing after thing after thing. And I was
Yeah,
like, you know what?
absolutely.
Why not me? I was so mad. I was like, you know what?
Hi, Soul
If I
Seven.
can do something to change things to make even a little bit of difference, I was like, I got so angry and I was like, I just told my husband and kids I'm going public. And it was like, you can't do this. I was like, oh yes, I can, and yes, I will, and I did. So,
And it left me all alone by doing so, but it was worth it because
right?
I would rather, I never fit in anyway, right? All of you guys here know that there was a portion of you that never truly jived with the rest of the world. You always felt different, even if you didn't know what kind of different it was at the time. You always knew you didn't understand people. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm fairly certain I'm correct on this. But we have another person here that I forgot to call out that I have not seen here before, but Soul Seven, did I say that right? Soul Seven Music? Am I reading that right? Yeah, I think so. So hello to you. Thank you for joining us. And if you guys have something to add to this, which I mean, there's plenty here, but please do because people go back and watch these later. They read the comments, and none of us are claiming to be right. We don't know. We're all just trying to understand, and this is how we all learn and grow. And the purpose of having Daryl on here this evening, especially, is because he relates. He gets so, we're all in different walks and different processes, but it's still kind of the same show that we're dealing with. We just don't know when the curtain call is actually going to, happen. That's the difference, I guess.
Thank
So,
you,
Daryl,
Kim.
did you find fear on this? I'm sorry, Candy.
I was telling Kim, thank you. She said, "You're such a sweetheart. I love your testimony."
Yes, always. Daryl, did you find a time in your life where you were completely fearful? Because I think we all do at first, right? And how did you
Yeah,
deal with that?
so, for me, the main focus all this time has really been with just like the people around me just abusing me, like people that shouldn't be able to, just family, everyone, and just in like a gang stalking type way. Like they just all worked in unison, and it was just like it would just work up to these like points that were just awful, like it would just build up and build up and build up, and then it all poured on, and it was all I was doing is like working, supporting them, fixing everything, and it's just like arguing a lot, like, hey, leave me alone, why? Right. But so I wound up having some false charges brought up against me. Nothing real bad, just kind of the typical thing that a lot of people do to their spouse, I guess, to kind of make them look bad. And then the whole family like joining in and kind of isolating me. And so I moved outside of the house for a little while, and I had a place right outside the house that was at least a shelter anyway. Well, I tried to figure it out. I had my business, all my bank accounts, everything moved over to where I had no access to it. I was taken off my own schedule for my own business. So I didn't know, where the jobs were or anything like that. And so like I found somebody I could like real quickly like go rent a place for him for like $1,000 a month. And I had luckily gotten in the habit of saving a little bit of cash, because this was kind of like an ongoing theme in my life where, it was kind of like a build up, or I called it the escalator to the edge of the cliff. So like, you build it up and you get there on the edge, and a little push and down you go, and so like, I moved out, and all of a sudden, like I looked at my arms. I think I was in a hotel one night, and I looked down at my arms, and they were just covered, both of them, like from my hand to like up where my sleeves are. And then it was like my neck, and this is when it started getting scary and like weird spiritual attack, where like, I was there like Christmas and Thanksgiving. This started like right at October, November. And so I went right into Thanksgiving season and Christmas, and I didn't have a job, and I didn't have a friend. And, I'm constantly hearing about all the terrible things that are being said about me. So I started doing a lot of videos during that time. It was maybe my way of punching back a little bit. Definitely punched back a little bit. I took a lot of those down though, because it caused a lot of trouble. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, I think we all do that.
That's when I had like the poltergeisty stuff happening. And I didn't know, in my mind, I thought they were doing witchcraft, like with voodoo dolls and stuff. Like, I just was like, I know they're doing witchcraft against me. And I was on my face praying and asking God, to just forgive me of everything and to help me not judge them, because I was like, well, I don't want to be judged either necessarily. I don't know why this is happening, but I didn't eat for like a complete week almost. And, I didn't know the difference between night or day after a while there, and the sores were getting worse and moving around. Like I would have knots form, and the knots would move around, and right wherever the knot was, I would get like this burn mark on my skin right above it. So I'd have streaks. And so I started doing like weird things. I started like wrapping my arms in like plastic or something to see if that would mess it up. And I was taking a bath, and I was using borax and bleach, because one thing I did notice is I had a pool at the time, and the pool seemed to help a lot in the summertime. It seemed to help clear it up.
Absolutely.
So I tried to
yes, the chlorine.
recreate. Yeah, I tried to recreate that environment, and I'd throw a little borax in there because that's supposed to help. And I was just in there one day, and some Bible verse came to my mind, like the leaves of the tree are there for the healing of the nations, I think is what it is. And I was like, that's it. I need to go to the tree to like try to
Herbal.
heal this. And so I got turpentine and DMSO and lime juice, because all those things had already
Yeah.
been like something I'd gone through in the past anyway.
Right.
And what I started doing is taking like a bottle cap, and I put a magnet in the bottle cap, and I put a piece of cotton swab in there, a little bit of DSO, a little bit of lime
Dump
juice,
it
and a
out.
little bit of turpentine. And wherever that knot was, I'd put that bottle cap on top of there and hold it down. And
Yep.
after about a half an hour, something would come out. If I just real
Yes.
firm. But if I didn't put it down firm, it'd move.
So
And
turpentine is made from cedar trees, right?
pine, I think, or just
Pine.
some
Well,
kind
pine and cedar both. I just have to throw this in because the redwoods, any kind of redwood, if you guys boil the needles, and this is just a little food for thought, just a little tidbit here, but because turpentine again, but I'm telling you, I used to drink a little. I used to boil the pine needles, and I would put it with distilled water, boil it, and make kind of like a tincture, which Candy knows all about tincture. She's got the best recipes for everything. But I'd put that on the wounds as well as that, and it worked almost as, if not as great as turpentine. I
Yeah.
found. This is
That's
strange, but Mother Earth, something about Mother Earth, right? The healing of the herbs and the, God's nature, natural
Well,
things.
we're trying to take advantage of plants' defenses, and use them to our advantage, right? But that took too much effort, because nobody can just sit around when you're covered head to toe with this stuff. It's a job just to pick what's worst, and because it just kept getting worse through this time period. And I honestly, now lately, I think of it as just like it's like your inner pain, like coming out through your skin. Like I think of myself like a pain bearer sometimes, and like if I hold it in, it'll just come out through my skin. But that's not really. That's just kind of a side thought. It's really not all that's going on.
Leaving out poison, right?
But the pain affects it. For sure. I mean, the abuse, like it is, I swear it is like abuse
Driven.
initiated, I guess. Like the abuse like can initiate it, make it worse, which is the case with almost any sickness anyway, right? Like when you're under psychological abuse and duress, if you have something wrong, it'll get way worse. So there's that too.
That's why changing the frame of mind, the frame of thought,
Yes.
no matter how hard it is, but I mean, you have to, just like I told you the other night when we were speaking, how I have to detach myself from any negativity. I deal with it a lot, especially I have lots of people call me and tell me their stories, and I have broad shoulders, and I believe God puts each of us in our places for reasons such as our calling, and mine happens to be, being there for others, but it takes a toll on all of us. And even I myself have to realize and recognize that, the point where you got to regroup, you gotta collect yourself, which basically is going to the Lord in prayer. By the way, I want to say to Soul 7 that's here, now that I realize who you are, sweetheart, thank you for being here. This is Logic Before Authorities, Daniel Allen Cannon's co-host that's joining us right now.
Yeah.
So and Daniel, I've been trying to get you and Sam on forever. So I'll have to get with you later on that. But thank you again for being here. And I want to say also, you guys, I think we sometimes, whether we understand what's going on or not, what we can be certain of is that we are getting rid of toxins that our body recognizes that should not be in there, because everyone, I think at this point, knows that what goes up must come down. Candy's always said that too. And we know what's up and what's coming down, and we also know the skyrocketed cases of Alzheimer's and autism and ADHD and cancers of every sort and type, and everybody knows somebody that is either passed or is going through. And I just lost three actually very beautiful people in just this last year with that alone. And we go to the Crown Royal roller up your sleever thing that died, all the sudden of glee, because I've got to code everything because algorithm's real and censorship is real. But I can count 6 people, strange, that died in their sleep, and they were generalized locations. They were all in certain spots and geographical locations, if that makes sense, which tells me something arrived somewhere that had a little extra something. You can guess all day long. You can do the math. You can try to do the math, but the answers seem to change daily. What I'm getting at, and it seems like this is an endless quest. But Morgellons, in my own opinion, has always been the very smallest piece and portion of a gigantic puzzle that is spiritual warfare through and through. And Kim was I think asked me to elaborate on the orbs. Daryl, you haven't. Andy's seen a few things in the sky, and Daryl, you say you haven't really noticed that portion. But
I have seen things, and it didn't really feel special to me. I just thought I was out late at night. Sometimes when you're out late, you see little things like down in the trees, not up in the stars, like down in the trees, little fizzy little fireballs flying around. Not fireflies either.
So, I think that's what I'm getting at. There is another portion of this, another level and layer that's well beyond what your skin is doing. When you're blading out the toxins, and that's the way I see it, the rest of the world's keeping it in because they're acting too strange to not be keeping it in. That's not normal behavior. That's where I am. Nothing too much is going to change my mind on that. But then when your eyes are open, just remember Satan knows your eyes are open too. His minions are going to work overtime because your eyes are open. They're going to do anything to create that fear within you. Going back to the blood, the fear, the sacrificial symbolism, all of it, the frequencies. Everything you feel is read as a frequency, and every emotion you show comes across to them as either vulnerable or strong. But then again, the stronger you are, the more attacks you receive, is what I have noticed. But I also know that I don't have all the lesions like I did. Don't get me wrong, they're there, and I mean, there's stuff coming out at me daily that shouldn't be there. But I noticed that my body started changing when I lost the fear. Less lesions, less brain fog, less emotional trauma. But I also believe you have to get rid of that emotional trauma, which means talking about it, leaving it out. You have to heal, and you have to have someone to talk to. It's important. My opinion, and I'll shut up now. Candy, you haven't got to say much. Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, you know how I am. Like I said, I was like, oh my God, I used to talk to myself because I had nobody. So, and in public places, where people would just stare at me, but it's like
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I had to get it. I was on the city bus and just sit there and talk about all my child abuse and everything. People just stare and but I mean, that was the only thing that saved me,
Candy, I don't think Daryl knows. He probably didn't see some of our earlier videos on what you went through at an early on age. And
I heard about the occult issues with your father, I think, or whoever the man was, like looking at you, staring at you. I watched that.
Grandfather, right?
My father, my grandfather, my grandmother. I mean, my siblings. It was just awful. Uncles.
I've been in a family like that.
Okay? So
I'm sorry.
She dealt with a lot of essay. Shall I say? Because we can't say it on YouTube. So very careful. So excuse me for interrupting.
There's like an echo. There's an echo. I'm having a hard time understanding you.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm hearing it too, but it's on the other end.
Yeah, but it's really bad.
It's on my end, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's so weird. We went through Daryl trying to get on, and now I hear it on my end. Wow, I hear it. That's so weird, guys. But
so, Candy,
I'm gonna shut up. Go ahead.
You said you have multiple generations of family involved in, was it witchcraft, Satanism? Was it SSRI?
Well, to give you the
Really?
background, um, my father was born in 1938. Um, and my grandmother, she had like 5 children. Her husband left her. It was during the Depression. So there was a lot of men in and out, and they messed with the children, and that's what they had to do to get by, because of the Depression and all. And so when he grew up, just being treated that way himself in his childhood, he's like, well, I'm going to join the Navy. So he joined the Navy and was trying to make a better life for himself. But then when he got out, he understood that he could go to college for free. And so I've told this story before, but he went to college based on the Navy paying for it. But by then he was like in his late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And back at that time, they were teaching in college about the New World Order, and he had to take classes that talked about ancestral relationships with
Hey,
families, and
Candy,
so they were like
Candy,
preparing
hold on
him.
just a second.
Yeah,
Just one second. I'm so sorry, guys. Just one second. Everyone's hearing that back, the echo. Can we just like say a prayer really quick because
sure,
just
sure.
I'm just gonna.
Sure.
Daryl, you want to lead us, or you want me to lead it?
No, that's fine. Lord, I pray for just your blessing on this little conversation, that we can just get this out, that will be helpful, and that things will just work well. Help us to just not confuse it by everybody talking at the same time, maybe. But anyway, I just pray that it'll work. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I guess that's what I was getting at. It wasn't that people were talking at the same time. There's
The echo
clearly,
on Lisa's end.
well, no, when you were talking, I wasn't saying a word. It's still there. Go ahead.
I
Let's
can't.
see.
I can't
So,
hear it.
well, basically, back at that time, a lot of the kids were straight out of college, so they were like, straight out of high school, so they were like in their 18s and 20s. He's in his late 20s, and they were teaching or grooming them for this future New World Order stuff, and my father didn't fall for it. So he was considered a conspiracy theorist before there was Facebook, before anybody cared or listened. You're talking about back in the 70s. So he really got whacked out by everybody, and of course it affected him mentally. And so of course he put it on his kids, and his family. So
Okay, so you have like a history of kind of conspiracy too, which affects your ability to trust too, because I have that too,
oh
from
yeah,
my
because
father. You know.
yeah, he taught us at a young age. It's like, they were teaching then about in end times, what's right is wrong and what's wrong is right. Uh, Everything they tell you is a lie, just everything. He was coming home teaching us that because he learned it in college.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was like 9, 10, 11 years old. So, it's total brainwashing. And then, like I said, again, they were teaching them about, this royalty and incest. And so he came home and put that on his family. We were experiments for him, but he was conditioned to believe that that was all okay. And then with my grandfather on my mother's side, he just had a fetish for little girls. And then my grandmother on my daddy's side, she was just raised in abuse and stuff. So she carried on that family tradition too. It just never stopped.
And so there was, there's those actual like sins, that the family's doing and passing down, but there wasn't like a religion behind it.
Well, there
Like,
was kind of sort of because what my dad would do is he would make us go to church on Sundays. But then we were coming home and, you know, being shown the other side of it.
yeah,
And so he even often told me when he was doing things to me, he would whisper in my ear, "Where's your God now?" And so, It's like, how can you hurt your children and then use God as your leverage? You know, it just
That
didn't make a
seems,
whole. It
that
was
seems,
twisted.
yeah. I had a little bit of that. We didn't, that I know of, we didn't have the sexual abuse that I know of. Now, there were 9 of us. My dad built an underground earth sheltered home because he was afraid of nuclear war. And
Yeah, my dad did too.
he
He
instilled,
dug a big
same
hole
time,
up underneath the dam, and
yes, same
there was
time in the Navy as well.
there was a little space in between the bottom of the house and the ground, and he made us get up underneath there and dig this hole. And I had to pass this shovel full of dirt out to my brother, and he would carry it to a pile in the yard. And then eventually, it started filling with water, and he said, "It's not going to work. Y'all need to fill it back in again." I think there was bodies. I think there was bodies buried down there, though, and we were
I
covering them
wouldn't
up.
doubt it. Would
That's
not
weird.
doubt it.
No, but my dad
Anyway,
literally built like a concrete house and they put dirt on top of it. And he was into that, like in construction, because I worked for his company
yeah,
a lot, did concrete myself. And he didn't finish it. Like
yeah.
we were just kind of there in an unfinished house for a long time. And it was very sad because like he just never could finish anything, I guess. But I had a sister commit suicide. And but at the same time, like we were at church every time the doors were open. My dad was up there singing, and it was just kind of weird. Like we had this dichotomy, but we had the whole don't trust the government thing. And I'm
Yeah,
actually thankful for that, you
yeah.
know, but it was a weird childhood, and the abuse was from the beginning until I finally just left them completely. I was like, I'm tired of this. I'm not going back.
Well, the
So,
funny part with me was because because of everything, I chose to block all. He had taught us out for years, but then when my eyes opened and I understood what was going on, then I started remembering things he used to tell us, and I was like, "Oh, he was right. Oh, he was right all along." You know, nobody believed him.
yeah, but they took it to a weird place and tried to
Yeah.
control it. But I almost think it was like Manchurian Candidate type thing,
Yes.
not
Yes.
like to the extreme, like, but to the sense that like let's go ahead and get this out there so that it'll get it out of the people, because these are freaks, and this is what they do. They ruin their families, and then everybody's like done with it, moved on, like a generation later when it's really kind of starting to get more important, right?
Yeah. My dad, I mean, my little brother was probably about 3 or 4 years old. My mom worked at nursery at a bowling alley, and so he was at home with my father one day, and he ran about 3 miles in his training pants to my mom's job, screaming and crying, and said that these men in black suits came and took my dad away. And he said they had a white car then, but and they were in black suits. And he said, "Well," my mom was like, "Well, who were they? You know, did they leave a card or anything?" "No, no, no, they just took them away." So, yeah, he disappeared for about 6 to 9 months. Nobody knew where he was at.
That sounds like a reprogramming thing.
Yeah, 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 he
What
wound
about
up
Yeah.
in a mental institution.
yeah. All right. Well, what
Well,
about
they
you? Like weird stuff. Like, did you have weird family? Like,
I had a very normal upbringing. That's where I
now I
try
know
to
that.
tell people. I can't stand this frequency and this. I mean, this is the weirdest thing. I can hear it too. When Candy's talking, I can hear it. When I'm talking, I can hear it. But when you're talking, guess what? Daryl, even though we couldn't get you, we couldn't hear anything. Yours is
Nope, I couldn't either.
clear. Ours has this weird frequency noise surrounding it, or an echo. I actually had a fairly. My dad never treated me like I was his. My brother and sister were his. I never felt abused, but I definitely, I felt like he didn't know me, didn't try to know me. Really, to this day, I'm seeing subtle changes. Finally, but mine started way later in life. And again, that's why I fall on everyone going through this. It seems like it's a series of unfortunate events. No matter when they start, whether it's the onsets from childbirth on, or preschool, or middle age. In my case, I was in my 30s, and I would say my whole world fell apart after my, being married for 15 years. I was 18 when I got married, baby at 19. And things got weird, but keep in mind what was going on in the world and who I was married to. And I always keep these things in the back of my mind because there's a significance. I was married to someone he was a Navy SEAL when I met him. When we got out, he went to the 3-letter word as a contractor, and the 3-letter word, you can humor yourselves all day long. You can figure it out. And we started going places that were very strange places in the Middle East. They rung my bell, but I couldn't quite do the math then. And knowing, and after we have that 9 emergency one thing happened, and he was in the embassy at the Pentagon, at that day, at that time. And I'm sitting, in a cubicle, and I'm looking at a TV that's being displayed, knowing my husband's there in the Pentagon. And, these little flying things that just flew supposedly into them. When I say supposedly, I'm going to approach that with very careful, I'm just going to say there's some things that I don't think people realize. I have to dance around this very carefully. Again, censorship is real. The choice of words we use, very important that we retain, but there are certain ways to convey those. But I mean, you got to keep in mind, being married to someone like that also involves yourself taking an actual oath with your hand up in front of, some very important people as a spouse. And I did that. My world changed when I walked away from that. And you guys can do the rest of the math. I was in my early 30s. And when I walked away from that, that's when my onset happened. So you guys tell me. But that's why I say most of them can say, I've been going through this forever, very young age. And I would say that's the majority. But there's a small handful of people like me that had a pretty regular childhood. I'm from New Mexico. My dad saw something weird one night. He won't admit it now. Not even the point. My life changed when I married who I married, and he went where he went after that, and I stayed with it until I watched the human being that I married and knew as my very best friend, like the man I thought he was nothing but a shell anymore. Him at all after that, and he would spend the majority of time in countries, many weeks and months at a time sometimes, and I'm home raising my kids, and each day each time he came back, he was different.
I'm sure, yeah.
I don't blame him though, because look at mind control is real, guys. It is real.
Yeah.
Parasites are real. And parasites come in many forms. They come in human form too. But I think this whole world is eaten up with parasites, demonic parasites. That's my opinion. And I think that we're very blessed to be, purging ourselves of the parasites that are in this world. Because again, when it's known as Satan's world, him being ruler and leader, spirit, pretty obvious. If you deny it, I'm going to tell you. All you got to do is look around and see. To them, it thy thou, oh unicorn me. I mean, all you got to do is taking God out of your schools, out of your country. They've taken every bit of integrity, moralism, and any type of value you could have ever had. They're slowly stripping it away, and they're doing it right in front of your face. And you can't see that. That's why the parasites are eating you alive, and they are everywhere. So I'm blessed to have this. I feel wonderful and blessed that I am purging these things. Yep, it's painting, it's scarring me. I'm not very pretty with it. things are decaying. I'm falling apart, but I can think straight. And I can think for myself.
Mhm.
I can wake up the next day knowing that I'm one step closer to home. What more could a girl ask for, really? That's all I got.
Well, I think that you know, there's a lot of dimensions to it. And for me, like we were talking about that, like you have to go to like you have to figure out more kind of what the goals are for mankind, because they clearly would like everybody to move as much as possible together in a certain direction, and we're now into this AI world. And I was just thinking that like this material that is falling down on us, entering our body's chemistry and getting reformed into crystals or all these little things, I also read a thing about a way to make like some type of DNA using sugar and like phosphorus or something. In my mind, like
embryos out of that.
in a sense, it could be like also like little data processors or they can like have data carried.
Your salt and pepper out. That's all I can say. Check your salt and pepper. They've been sprinkling us everywhere all day long with those kind of things. Again, who I was married to taught me a lot, but this is overboard. I'm telling you, it's way more than what we realize.
The quantum computer system. The quantum computer system is, and these data centers that they're now making, like Memphis and around that, which are just gigantic circuit boards. To like, they're collecting all of the data.
That's what I've been trying to say.
All of the data in the world is being collected and stored and used to create a mind that'll know your next move before you even think about it. You know what I mean?
It's already been there. Yeah.
It's monitoring you, and it's in your body, so it can monitor you, and it can communicate, in my opinion, in a way with the quantum computer system. And that latest thing they did, that's just like put that whole thing on turbo. But they call that like it's really like a software, or I don't think they use the term software, but it's something Fauci was saying, like actually what we're doing, we're putting a something system inside people. And
that's like in the behind. They've been doing that forever.
Yeah, but it could be a program that is made to run at a certain time, so you see things that nobody else sees. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know what it's going. And we're getting too far. But to me, my mind was just that this stuff is made to tie to the quantum system, and that's the system that literally is a created God to rule the world and make everything happen that's supposed to happen. And it's building at speeds we can't imagine. The only thing holding it back is people are too slow.
See, I guess, okay, so I've always seen Earth as a circuit board. You got your ley lines, and I'll say it again. We always talk about ley lines. And people that, you've heard of ditch witches, right? And, how people find water for their wells. I mean, there's this Earth is not what people think. I don't think either. There's something very ancient and old about this Earth for certain. But the technology, in my humble opinion, has always been there. It was much greater then. It's always been here. We've been left in the dark, and we're just, some of us, and not very many will wake up, but some of us are waking up and can see it. And praise the Lord is all I can say. And if I have Morgellons and scars, thank goodness, because that means I'm breaking the chains that bind me. And I believe that about all of us. I sincerely do. And you don't have to even tell the symptoms. If you're awake, you're getting her to talk to you some way, somehow, and that would be from the Lord God Almighty. And again, that's just how I feel. But you're right. The quantum, the scalar waves, the quantum physics, everything that they talk about now, I feel like it's been here for millennia. Because all you got to do is fly over the Earth and look down at night, and you can clearly see.
You can look at a city. Yeah, like a city can be set up as an energy like circuitry too, and we're just kind of the electric flow going through it. It's people, because we're energy
The
too.
criteria.
We're thinkers. We create a lot of energy too. So it's a lot
Yeah.
of it's about that. But to me, it's just like it's part of that
Yeah.
direction
Yeah.
to take everybody, and it's technological, and it's magic being made into technology. You know what I mean? So it gives like the spiritual realm the ability to like be directed in a sense, like and controlled in a way by this quantum too, like send these guys over there, and
See, I believe
because
the
there's so
Lord's in control. I do. I think He's in control. He allows certain people to see certain things. Have you noticed how we all seem to be planted in that echo's killing me, but I'm going to deal with it. How we all seem to be planted in certain areas of this world, pretty much all far from one another, but having unique gifts or whatever you would want to call them. We're here, we deal with very well, where another may not have that gift, they have a different one. I think the Lord has always been really wonderful about that, where we feel alone by ourselves, because this will make you feel like that, right? Where you feel like you have nobody and the world turns against you because they do. I think
well,
we've all been
that's like a program though,
designed
that's like a program.
by the divine. What's that?
That's like a program though, to cause people to run us off. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
but
like
I mean, God put us here
they're
for
working
strength. Yeah,
they're working by influences in a mind that's not even in this. And I've heard somebody said that they can pay for advertising that's tied to cell towers, and it's totally intuitive. It's psychological. It's not like something you can hear, but they can influence people to like stop at this store right here intuitively through frequencies. And
yeah,
I don't know if
can
that's
be
true or not,
controlled
but
by
that was like
this.
a real guy I was talking to. It wasn't like a video that had just popped up or anything either. And I thought that was weird. But the things they can do, like that we can't even pick up on, but it affects, I've always felt like they can affect the frequency of a day to make everybody feel happy or relaxed or anxiety.
All these
Everybody
powers. Yeah,
so there's just a lot of like ebb and flow going on that we just have to deal with. That's just
but if they
being
can
done
change
to
our frequency from that, can you imagine the frequency we can control in numbers? Everyone on the same wavelength. Yeah,
Yeah.
quite literally, power in
Yeah.
numbers.
Hey,
Candy, I love you. Thank you for listening.
hey, listen. Yeah, I'm going to say good night. It was so nice to meet you, Daryl. I look forward to doing more.
Thank you,
You have a
Candy.
good night. Tell George hello. You have a
I
blessed
will.
evening
Thank
there.
you. Thank you. He said thank you for the compliments on the deck,
His
too.
deck looks amazing. This man is talented. Both of them are talented. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it looks like a brand new house. That's awesome. Tell him I love him. Love you guys very much. Very much. Okay.
All
Bye.
right. I love you too. Good night,
night.
Daryl. Good night, everybody.
So do we have questions?
Yeah, I thank you, Daryl. I appreciate that. I was gonna try to get this echo something else, right?
Yeah.
I don't know where it's coming. I don't know why it's doing that. That's not done that before till tonight. I got you going, or you got you going, and then I couldn't get. Now I've got an
It
echo,
sounds
and
like
Candy had an echo too, which is different. We both had echoes. Do you have a headset on or no?
No.
No. I guess I
Everything.
need one.
My house is like a Faraday cage. Okay.
We both live in barndominium, so I mean, it's really weird though. It's not usually. Actually, we've had perfect podcasts with no interference. And then when you couldn't get on earlier, they were walking you through it, you finally did, and then now all of a sudden, I had the interference. So I guess my point is, like, that is Satan's way. I believe it's Satan's way. I mean, it just happens like that. And it's a way, I mean, even Kat said, oh, guys, I can't handle the back noise. I got to go. Because, I mean, that's the way it works. That's how it works. It's Satan's world. Don't let him win.
They throttle the data. That's how it happens. Like, they just don't let you have as much data as you need.
Well, no, you don't understand, because I've been running these podcasts forever and it is literally, I mean, why would I do that to some, but let's not do it to you. Anyone on here right now that's been following us forever, they know what I'm talking about. They've never heard us have this back noise like this. They had heard Candy when I first had her on. But it's still Satan's world. I mean, everyone's looking for logical, practical, well, this or that, or too much data. There's a point where just because another man told us that it's just null and void at this point. Everything is, because it's Satan's world at the end of the day, and too many supernatural things happen that can't be explained away other than that, I guess. But I mean, I'm sure that some of that can be, but I mean, everyone says, like, that's an airplane. So you're seeing an airplane every day, every night. You walk outside, it's clearly just it's a drone, it's an airplane out in the middle of nowhere. No matter where I go, logical, reasoning always comes to mind. That's human nature. But the Lord didn't tell us that there had to be any logical excuses. In fact, He told us whose world this was, and I'm old enough to know what I'm seeing, and I'm old enough to know that my odds of winning the lottery would be excellent if they were, in fact, like they are when I walk outside. And every time I walk out, no matter what time it is, I'm seeing something in the sky that shouldn't be there. So I guess that's the frequency I'm talking about. But I can't explain it, and if you haven't gone through it, you don't have to. But many people on here have and know exactly what I'm talking about. And then if you listen to other podcasts and YouTube channels, especially the ones that are Christian channels, Logic Before Authority is an example. You will see them struggle and strive sometimes to get on, to be able to convey a message with interruptions, constant interruptions, and things like my voice right now echoing. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. But I don't need to convince anyone, and I hope they don't have to experience that. Those who know, it's that simple. If you know, you know. And many do. Many do.
What about like micro bugs? Do you ever get these like tiny things and you feel like it's like, what is that? Like, why do I have these little tiny things that I can barely see? They'll be in my house all the time too, and it's just like, is that something with Morgellons, or is that just
everyone here? I can't even say it enough. I don't think Morgellons is a thing. They're probably the only person in the world that's going to say this. Morgellons is a thing, but not a thing. Morgellons is the tiniest, most complex, but yet minute portion of a massively oversized puzzle, and it fits into just a little itty bitty portion of the agenda, the whole connection. I don't know how to explain that any differently other than Morgellons came down with it that freaked me out, drifted me into awakening. Started seeing stuff in the sky, supernatural things started happening immediately, and I've been able to prove things away and watched it happen, so I know it's real. Jesus Christ is Lord, and He's proven that over and over again. And what I've realized, and I don't even know how I knew it, because it's not like I'm smart, because I'm not. But I knew immediately that this doesn't even register on the register as to what's actually taking place in our lives. But those things will bug you, let me tell you, no pun intended. Because that's all I could focus on for the longest time is these little bitty things. I could see them. I'd watch them fly really fast, right? But I couldn't find them. And I could feel the crawlies under my skin. I would see them crawling, but they're like teeny, like almost invisible. But my thing is, which is so different than most, is like when I pull out, most people say they have to have a microscope. Like I've never needed a microscope to see
No.
what I get out of my skin. And you can go through my videos and watch live videos of these things moving around freely. I think I sent you a video just the other day. I was outside. There's leaves flipping around and waving, and there's no wind out there.
Whatever that was. Yeah, I mean, it's being found everywhere. And they're finding it. I've heard this. I think it was Nicholson, 1968? Yeah, and he was talking to somebody, and I've heard in a couple videos that they're finding these fibers in lots and lots of people's blood. You know, when they look for it.
1968 videos. He helped me learn a lot when I first had that. Like he was literally all I watched was Nicholson 1968. Yeah. Harold Cows I like, and I agree with a lot. But there's a spiritual portion where I feel like he's off on. Let's put it like that, because we have a Lord and Savior that's very real, and I have a video showing me pleading the blood of Jesus with this big ominous cloud over me, and you can tell me, and it disappears as I'm praying Jesus and calling out Jesus' name. And there's so much power in his name that when I see people like Harold Krauss, which I really admire and I appreciate his commitment and efforts, because he has definitely come to a lot of conclusions. But then sometimes I ask myself, you know, because association, because I know who I was associated with without even realizing at the time. But it's not even the point. Like, if you don't have Christ in your life, you're not living. No, you're not living for reasons that we should be. And again, I say that with all love and sincerity, which is why I have this channel, and I got to do my part. In other words, I wouldn't sleep at night. I still don't sleep very well. I'm so imperfect. I lack so much. I'm flawed. But is that not the best part? Like, you know, when I was talking to you, we're so flawed. We all are so flawed. But we're humbled, and we surrender. We're at peace with that. And if we're not all the way there, we're getting there. And I think this is a beautiful moment that happens just due to these series of unfortunate events, which sounds so weird, but it is. It's beautiful. It's beautifully heartbreaking. It's a tragic tale of courageous beauty, I guess. It is a series of unfortunate events. It really is. But the common denominator is rock bottom. When you hit the ground so hard, with so much force, that you don't think you can get back up, then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, you get back up, and you know it's not because of your strength, because you were done. I think that's when you know. That's when you know, and you have no purpose after that. So I can see it in you. I know that you've been telling me, which is also a weird thing that happened to me. Sandy will tell you, I kind of found me to my channel and watched one of my videos. She was laughing. That was funny, reached out, but I don't know where this came from. I was like, do you have a grandma that wears red lipstick? And I don't know where it came from. Still to this day. And actually, I felt like, oh my gosh, is that evil? Like, you grow up hearing that if you see or you do that. And I mean, that's the last thing I want to do. But I mean, I saw this woman. She's passed. How did you know? And I'm like, oh, I don't know, so that she knows you're strong like her. I don't know where it came from. I can pass someone in Walmart sometimes, brush shoulders, and I think it's frequency. Ultimately, it's got to be frequency.
Like aura?
Frequency is real. I mean, people talk about this new age talks about auras and higher selves. I've never really been on board with it. I don't believe in fortune telling or anything like that.
Well,
Or
I'm
it didn't.
talking about like
But I mean,
aura
this
is
is
like an
different.
energy field,
I'm
right?
talking spiritual gifts, maybe, like
Yeah.
because I
Well,
can't explain it. It doesn't feel evil, but sometimes I just do things. I don't know how I know, and it's not me. That makes sense.
spiritual intuition,
So spiritual gifts.
right?
I mean, I believe in them now. I didn't before, but when you have no other explanation and you know you're not that smart, it's not fair. I'm not that smart. That's it. Nothing special about me at all. I am nobody special. But when you see that happen, you know you have to be or think you're special. I think we're all special. And I think he places unique gifts on each of us, no matter what they may be. Whether it's your message,
Oh,
whether
definitely.
it's your ability to help others, right?
Everybody's got gifts, you know. I mean, I've
Absolutely.
been in situations where I've cast out demons, and I don't consider it like a
100%.
gift. I think a lot of people can do it, but they just don't know they can, and they don't know how to or whatever. But
Yes, that is
I've
so true.
I've fought
Everyone can
demons
do it.
in people and out of people, and you know, it's really not that special anymore, in my opinion, because then things can bounce around. But
It's something that it's in the frequency. It's in your intent. Just like I could pray the chemtrail, the cloud full of I knew was bad away. You can cast demons out. I told the story many times. People on my channel know. My friend strangling. I was going to die that night. Watched his eyes turn the whites of his eyes to black. And I mean, I'm saying just a friend. Like, he was one of my very best friends. I watched the veins on his arms get black. And Gilbert, if you're watching, you know I love you, but you know it's true. But I mean, traveled up his arms, and he even freaked out when he didn't have any recollection. But I saw it
no,
as life was being strangled out of me. And I said, Jesus loves you. You're loved. Love is the answer. It's always going to be the answer. Love is also the problem.
yeah, that definitely puts the whatever intensity of that situation and kind of. But yeah, so I guess we have to like just kind of focus a little bit on, you know, getting away from sometimes the conspiracy of it all and just like where we're headed and how we're going to get there, you know, because like my verse, that it's a lot of people's verse these days, I think, but you know, I just remember reading it, and it was, they overcame him by the blood of the lamb, the word of their testimony, and not fearing for their lives. And so not fearing was something we've already talked about, and you know, the blood of the lamb and the word of their testimony. So, and that's something I've just been kind of like, well, I kind of need like a little bit of a testimony too, something that I'm ready, you know, and you speak your testimony to the devil himself, right?
You betcha.
And you overcome. So we really can't do anything about it as far as I can tell, but just kind of whatever your little home remedies are, but they don't seem to fix it. So completely.
I don't. I believe. I could be pissed at the world right now. I went through this many when he went through with me on the channel. I was mad. I was hurt. I cried tears. I was in anger. What we don't realize is we're in control. If we give up our control and surrender, we got this. We can do so. And by the way, this world isn't our home. We're just passing through.
Right.
It's made up somewhere beyond the blue.
But we have to learn. We have to learn our weapons, right? You know, because we get dragged in with all the trauma and the abuse. You know, we get dragged into fighting them with words and anger, and you know, we get dragged in, and then like all of a sudden we lay ourselves out there to be abused in a
vulnerability.
You know, we make ourselves vulnerable by not doing it the way like we were told to in scriptures, how Jesus said, you know, like turn the other cheek or pray for them, or, you know, try to show them love, but, you know, don't just jump in there and fight everybody.
My family. Jesus was the only perfect man, was he not? Like, completely perfect. And he was so persecuted. And here we are, we're persecuted, and I can't even explain how heartbroken I was. My family, I never gave them a reason, right? I've spoken about this. You probably have too. We don't give them reasons to disbelieve us. We go from very normal lifestyles, with mishaps, but no reason to just wake up one day crazy. And that is the most heartbreaking feeling. I think that was the most surreal moment for me when I came outside of Texana House, which is a mental facility where I was drugged away from my youngest daughter at the time, taken against my will because I believed in chemtrails and I saw strange objects in the sky. I also thought that there were fungal components in my skin. So I had the police forcefully take me from my home, and people heard the story. My daughter had the lead role. I missed it, didn't know it, drugged me up, kept me for 3 days. Not even the point. The point is, when I finally got released from that facility, not knowing how many days had been by, knowing that I don't remember things, I couldn't have gotten any better if I was supposed to be sick. No pun intended, but I walked out that door and my heart never ever hurt so bad, like so deeply, so broken. It was the moment I realized nobody, not a soul in this world loves me anymore. That hurts. I mean, it's like I would rather be whipped like my dad with a belt wherever it hit. I'd rather have my digits cut off than to feel that deep ache. And God, that hurts so bad. But you know what that taught me is like, this hurt me. Imagine little Jesus felt. That's unimaginable because I'm imperfect. So I'm so grateful for that happening to me because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be this many steps closer to understanding why and
Yeah, and hopefully that's the story a lot of people are saying, right? Like hopefully people are realizing that like you're different and that's a good thing. That is a good thing. And you need to take hold of like who you are and like just start understanding that like if I'm different, I have a purpose and I'm safe because of my purpose. Like nobody can stop.
They don't, right?
Right. So yeah, I mean
you don't have to understand.
I'm in my dream.
Echo, so I can't hardly hear, right? I'm sorry?
Well, that dream I had, like whatever, it made me feel like I'm part of a mission. Like I have a mission. Okay, I remember more of it actually because like he told me he loved me and it was about the lies that I had believed is like kind of, but like this was my last chance, and but that like I had like that was my training. Like all that hardship was part of training. Like just like a soldier goes to boot camp or something like that. But like and it's just training to be tough, really, and to be able to stand. I guess like as things.
It's boot camp, like it's a good soldier. Goes to war without that. It's exactly that.
But people should be just kind of try to latch onto that. It's not easy, but when we focus on like so much on something like on my arm and like it won't heal and like why does this happen to me, and you get a little bit of am I cursed? Like I'm sure every single person that's got it has wondered if they are cursed by like God or if it's like a demon just poking them like or something and
everything goes through your mind.
Right. So
but you know what? I'm really proud how you handled that. You went to the sustainable living aspect. I'm gonna just fast track over to that and get off the topic. All of us here hurt. We know it's hard, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, Daryl has achieved something that we all would love to achieve: sustainability. A place of his own, a place to call home. And if you don't mind, you can elaborate on that. I think that's amazing. So,
I
Your
mean,
place in Tennessee.
well, it was really kind of a dream of mine, but like I had an okay business, but you know, you have to understand, like, let's just be clear, you know, everybody like that was in my house, which was my wife at the time and her kids and all, you know, they were just constantly like working against me, you know, and it's all that narcissism and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm tired of it already. I don't want to talk about it
Yeah.
because
Oh no,
the
I'm just
whole
talking about what you did to achieve and get your place where it is now. Like the house
well,
that
yeah,
helped
I
you.
mean, but I got to sell everything, my house, you know, which was like kind of I don't know. The Lord worked it out. To me, it's a miracle because I never thought I'd have land. I never thought I'd have anything nice. And he kind of set me up in the house down there in Georgia. And I just pinched myself like, I can't believe this is my house. I feel like I'm on vacation or whatever, you know, but like, it was just a season, you know, and then like everything there got crushed. And I wound up here in like a trailer with no power and water. And I was going to build a house, you know, and I did it. But I felt like I was being throttled and slowed down. Like the Morgellons was really like kicking my butt the whole way through. I couldn't get moving before like 10, 11 a.m. And I just sit there and
Poor little
pick.
girls trying to go through it. It was hard.
I was just sitting there and picking and being like, Lord, give me strength. Let me get up. What's wrong? There was like weird things, like unbelievable amount of flies. And I was just like, what
Yeah.
the heck is this? Like, unbelievable amount of
Everybody
ticks.
was after you.
And it was tough, but I felt like it was a mission. I felt like it was a mission from God to get away from the city I lived in and get further out. Like, to me, that was like leaving a very bad thing. And it's not like I'm all set up and I'm all secure and safe here, because this could change tomorrow. Okay. You know, I mean, the devil can come in and break things up pretty quickly if he wants to, but I don't consider it like, oh, this is my long-term house and I might live here till I die or whatever. It's just, this is where I am now, you know, and it's a better place than where I was before, but I'm here alone, and it's, you know, it's a good thing. I talk to the Lord a lot when I'm not, you know, talking to the animals and dogs, but you know, the people that were part of the abuse were part of pushing me here, you know, and it just, that was it. And to me, like, their mission's done. They ran me off and I'm where I need to be, you know, and
Strategically placed in God's own way, he does that. But it is,
but
that alone part's hard. So hard.
I felt like a Joseph or a David, you know, like, you know, being in the wilderness alone and hurt
Yes.
and not understanding the persecution, like Joseph's brothers. And when he finally saw them again, as he's like this great man, he's like, you know, y'all meant it for evil, but the Lord meant it for good. And I've said that, you know, I've said that. But I don't know if this might just be a stepping stone. I have no idea, because I feel like I have a mission, right? But I don't know what it is. I have no idea.
So I said, be still and know that I am God. He said, be still. And that resonated with me really after I came down to this place. Be still and know that I'm God. I'm like, he just said, don't worry. Like, be still. Just stop fidgeting. And it hit me like a ton of bricks one day. My mom always said that scripture to me growing up, and she'd have to put on every Christmas card or whatever. Be still and know that I am God. But it was a verse. It was just a verse to me then. And then this happened. And then I can't even explain. Now I understand the Bible. Like, I understand it. I can't even explain. Like, all of a sudden, the puzzle pieces started coming together. And here I was old. How does someone get to be in their 30s and in their 40s and just barely understand what's actually going on and what's actually the definition
It
of
don't took that long, you know.
I have so much to catch up on. It's never too late. It's never too late.
Right. Well,
But
I
it's
wasted
pretty,
most of my life at this point is what I feel like, other than just in
feel like that.
hardship. And a lot of them I brought on myself, a lot of them, because I didn't know who I was, and
I don't think
I was
anyone does, though. You
yeah.
know,
Well,
I don't
you
think
know
really
who you
anyone
are
knows who they are.
in the Lord. Like, to me, like, that's where I learned who I was. And that's when I was taught so many things. Like, I know, like, history stuff, and I can tie it all together. Like, whether it's the Bible, whether it's history we weren't taught, history people don't know about, the science, the computer systems, all this stuff. To me, it all ties together. And I know all this stuff, and it can't talk to it about with people. Can't really talk about this stuff too much. It'll get you ran out of town.
You can hear. This is a good everyone on here that gets it. And the group is fairly large, and we have different nights, but it's not large like the world large. But it's just remember, God has a select few that He calls for different reasons, and
Right,
we don't have to understand. He didn't say He's on your own understanding. So Lord knows I can't lean on mine because I don't understand any of this. But I just know that there's a reason for the season, and this too will pass. And this world is not our home. It's never meant to be our home, and it's never been about us. It's about others.
right.
It's about all.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, really, it's just it's this lesson, this teacher, whether it's the abuse or just you're focusing in on this, and you're focusing in on this, and you're focusing in, and you're not really getting anywhere. You think you are. You always think you're like about got this cracked, and then, well, it turns out I still got it, But at some point, we just have to pull back and just be like, I'm okay, I'm still.
We don't
I'm
have
still,
to have
I'm still provided
we don't even,
for,
we don't have to.
and then
I
you
think
find
you're
your
doing a great job, by the way. Sarah. I think you're doing a very beautiful job getting through what you have gone through. If you haven't been told that, I think that you've done amazingly well. Like, you should be proud. I'm proud. I'm sure everyone here is. You have a really beautiful testimony, and you've overcome a lot. You should be proud of yourself, and there's nothing wrong with being proud of yourself.
Yeah, because I mean, I had to establish like not worrying about what people think about me anymore. And one thing that caught my mind because of the abuse, there's this like lack of self-love, and the psychologist, I don't like all that, but like you have to
We understand here, trust me.
you have to love yourself, because you really can't love another person like yourself if you don't love yourself, right? So that's like a big thing that I'm trying to like understand. I don't like doing stuff for myself too much, like, oh, I'm going to treat myself. No. I don't really like that too much, but I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. And I think like more than anything, it was just, I was bound and determined to get out of there, and for good reason, because I didn't feel like I had a lot of life left in me if I stayed, because that cycle wasn't going to end.
Right? And that's the beauty in what you just said. You recognize where we have a sleeping world that doesn't even recognize that it's a cycle, and it's a detrimental cycle. You recognize to remove yourself from that because it's something bigger and greater. And there's not too many people that can see that. And ultimately, you're right, ending up, to me, in my own opinion, I needed to do it. I never knew how to love myself. We had to find ourselves in order to be able to freely give love to a partner or another, and do it on a wholesome, real way. I mean, I feel like I love my husband with all of my heart. Actually, I know I did. But the thing is, what's different is when you remove the materialism and you remove the programming, you remove the indoctrination and lies, and you separate yourself from all of that, which requires aloneness, a lot of it.
That's a big thing is And for me, like you were saying, your daughter went to college, and that's the first time you ever been alone. Well,
Last one, yeah.
I've never had a lot of friends or a lot of people around me for the most part, but I've always had some kind of noise around me. It might have been bad, like I need to get away from these people and I can't.
But it was noise. Yeah.
But then, yeah, when you're all alone, all of a sudden it's like, well, what if my car breaks down?
I told my sister, I'm like, you wouldn't know if I was dead. Like I have family here, and they could care less.
And I just sit there. I'm like, Lord, I need you to keep this car running because there's nobody I can call. Or if it breaks, let it break at my house, right? Or just.
Not to mention, I'm the person everyone calls for help. So I'm thinking, Lord, keep me rolling so I can help them if they call me. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, when I was building this place, I was up there on the roof, and I'm just like, it wasn't a standard roof; it was a metal roof, and there are holes you can step in everywhere. And I was just like, Lord.
Yep, I broke down not too long ago.
You have to protect me, because if I fall, the people down the local.
For 3 weeks.
I took my arm off because it got stuck under a rock,
I've actually, it's funny you said that. I'm like, I put myself, I'm like, would I cut my arm off? I'm like, oh yeah, I would. I'm not a world of obvious.
I don't know.
It's a terrible feeling though, because I actually literally, I woke up, like if I didn't wake up, I woke up dead, nobody, my mom would know. She's got the mentality of a 6-year-old due to her incident, but so she knows repetitive habits, so that's the only reason. But my sister and brother, who live in this little town, every family member, I don't have a single friend here in the world, not one friend I can call a friend that calls upon me to check upon me. I've got some sweet people, but I mean, they've got sweet people I barely know. It's funny, perfect strangers are more likely to reach out to me than anyone. I'm the one that my family lives here, and I get to find out if I look at Facebook that they're all together on vacation, and that's how I know they're still alive. That's the only way I know. And I'm just like,
tell you,
not good enough to join. Not all your friends there that are trying to go to heaven with you. Am I really that?
Don't tell Lisa.
It hurts. It does hurt. But it's funny. It hurts.
Well, I had 9 brothers and sisters, and
that's a lot.
I don't know. Yeah. One of them knows where I live. I have a sister that's like 6 years older than me, 2, 4, 6, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I have a little sister that's my daughter's age.
Oh wow!
Yeah, my mom had like a baby.
She didn't know. Well, she was fertile. I thought I was fertile. I had 4 girls, one girl after the other, and I'm like, what is going on? Yeah, I mean, you talk about punishment, by the way. Females are flipping hard. And then to not have a dad in the house, I totally believe that family is important for those 2 figures, mom and dad, firmly set in place in order to rear children correctly, because they'll walk all over one parent or the other, and they'll play the 2 against each other, no matter how good of a parent you are. And I pride myself in my parenting abilities. I was an excellent mother. That's the one thing I refuse to let anyone strip me of. I may have failed elsewhere. I was a good dang mom. I still am a good mom. And they bullied me, and they were bigger than me. And it was easy to let them bully me when dad's overseas. When he comes back, he's like, yeah, man, your mom's crazy. Whatever's going to make them happy and make them look like a hero. Let's go to counseling, they said. I'm like,
yeah, because nobody can. Who can afford that anyway? $200.
Well, on top of that, I've never been a fan of it. Not even the point. It's like counseling, because I punished them and grounded them, and they said, "Mom, you're me." And they said, she's just acting crazy. I'm like, yeah, you and your friend pushed me down in the front yard and kicked me in the stomach when I tried to block you from leaving because you were grounded. I'm going to be crazy trying to stop you. And here's a man that like grew up as a Christian, but I told you he changed. And I never, like, I'm sitting in a counselor's office to appease them because I'm crazy for punishing my children by grounding them and not allowing them to walk over me. Here's the funniest part of all, though. That counselor laughed his flipping ass off. He first talked to me, he talked to them individually, then he called us all in, and he looked right at my husband and Paul. He's like, I don't know what you're thinking, but you don't know a damn thing about parenting. He looked at my kids, he's like, you guys need to grow up. And I'm just like, thank you. I don't know. He's a stranger and he gets it, you know? But there was them, and I just.
Yeah,
and
but
again,
that's like the weapon
in a
now.
crazy for having Morgellons in my family. And I'm like, talk about persecution. But again, they're poisoned. That's real. It's real.
Counseling's a weapon. I mean, honestly, if you go back to like narcissists, like it's a very common thing to be talked about is how like, you know, they try to make you crazy and send you
Although
to
that
a
word is so overused these days, but yes. Gaslighting and narcissism, the two most overused words ever.
But it's so
yes,
true.
that's exactly what it is. You nailed it.
It's so true. Triangulation
so
too,
true.
huh?
They program us and then they use these programs, right?
Well, that's the real hive mind. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
it really like it. They just all work together, and that's how you know. There's like really. I mean, the Bible describes this kind of stuff as sin, you know, and darkness and wickedness, and there's kind of always been like a hive mind there. Well, now it's just a little bit stronger, you know, and it's just getting stronger and stronger and stronger.
Yeah, you're right. You nailed that. All I know is that each of you here tonight, and this goes to you too, Daryl, because I recently met you, and I can see this really beautiful spirit in all of you. This a fight in you that isn't a battle; it's a fight to overcome, persevere, as well as change, reach out, and help the world. And that's so different than war. I mean, you're battling for your soul, but you're still trying to love others that crushed you. And what a beautiful testimony that each of you have, and the fact that you keep moving on, because this world is cruel. It is cruel, and we all know people like us. There's a good many that are in this community that have taken their own lives because.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
So,
I bet.
Yeah. It is, and there have so many, and others that have just suddenly died, that I don't think took their own lives, but you know, conspiracy and all. All I know is the Lord wins anyway. He did the spirit of fear, and no weapon will prosper. So
no, it's gonna be harder for women because you know I'm all chipped up, but I'm a guy and I build stuff, and I can just be like, oh, you know, I'm just working outside, you know, at the farm or whatever. But like, you know, it's hard for me to have like a big thing in the middle of my forehead like I did for a long time there. But you know, it's just like it still would be worse for a woman. You know what I mean? So I've always kind of felt like for the women that have it, like. You know, I mean, it's
grateful though because it's taught me humbleness as well. That vanity is nowhere at all. And Soul 7 asked if you would be on again. You'll come on, right?
Say that again.
We have Soul 7, Logic Before Authority. Shannon asked if you'd be on again, if you're going to come on again.
Yeah, anytime.
I think I would like to have him as a regular. He's pretty amazing. And Shannon, I would also like to invite you on. Would you like to come on? Threesome, but that sounds crazy. Would you like to come on and do a podcast with us? I mean, I think that I've watched you over and over, and I think you're amazing. And on top of that, you can tell you're a beautiful soul. But Which Soul 7? I like that. There's going to be a story behind this. But if you would be interested, I don't know if I still have your number. I think I reached out to you at one time. The logic before when I talked to Daniel first, I think I talked to you second. But just in case, I know you have my number, but it's 820-3535. I'm going to throw that out there because I do, but I know you have it because I think it was too long ago. But yeah, so maybe the four of us can come back on. Ask Daniel if he wants to. If he doesn't, I would be thrilled just to have both of you and you can add to this world, and I'll shut up. I mean, sometimes I can't help but talk because I feel a severe force from the Lord saying, "You'll burst if you don't say it." I'm learning how to rein it in.
ADD.
ADHD all day long, and I'm ADHD. I have always been.
I got that
I'm
too.
all over the page. I tell her I'm the line, but I like it. So. And she said she would love to have it on too. You know what? I would be thrilled. I'm sure you would. Daniel's asked before, maybe it was you asked me before, but then I was just trying to always. I'm a private investigator, so I usually was working so much, but I was recently hit by a truck 2 days ago, totaled my car, so I'm gonna have some free time once in my life. Yeah,
Free time, not paid time. Right?
And he hit me and ran. It's always something. And I'm like, I just got that car. I'm so weird to be honest. Right after I got it, going full speed. Just got it back 6 months ago, and now it's just screams me. But I'm alive, so I'm not going to complain. That means that's how I know God has purpose, because I should have been dead so many times. He said, "Let's do it." Sounds good. Again, I gave you my number. We'll plan, and I'll get here, and we'll just go from there. So
yeah, I want to hear other people's theories. I just because everybody's got like an angle or just what really means the most to them as far as everything, and we've just kind of gone off, and people probably get bored when we go on a trail that's not lined up with theirs as much. But like, I like hearing other people's theories about it and how it plays into the bigger picture and everything too, and maybe some health benefits. Like, I thought I was just amazingly smart because I knew to use magnets, and it turns out like all these
You know, I think that's the funny thing that we all learn from each other. A lot of it, I think the Lord provides the information, because there's things like I need ivermectin right away, and I need DMSO. That was the first two things I used like 12 years ago. Ivermectin and DMSO before I even had this. And so it's weird, but I think the Lord works like that. And the magnets were the third thing. So
well, I made a sleeve. I could put my arm in there, and it was a cylinder with magnets. Like, it was an electric motor, like a big one. Yeah. And I took it apart, and there are magnets in there. I could stick my arm in there, and man, that stuff, it helped. It helped a lot.
Well, I had a Faraday type a sauna sleeping bag I got from the Amazon return store for like $10, a full body sauna heating bag. And let me tell you, what it is with that. That's gonna happen real soon. I just got it a while ago. Soul 7, I did not realize you had your own channel. I am going to subscribe tonight. And good for you. I am proud of you. Yay. More voices, better off we are.
Send me some of those.
It's the Holy Spirit. Amen.
I got my phone. I can't read that.
What's that?
I said, send me those channels.
Yeah, so I will. Well, you can go back and watch this, because I'm going to send you the whole YouTube link. So you can watch on YouTube, and you're going to see the names. So
yeah, I got it.
76 hers, and she is. I loved her from the moment I first listened to her too. I think Daniel and I started our channels around the same time. Never mind, I got shut down at like I had a lot of subscribers, and YouTube just bam took me off. So I started all over, and get this, every day people are like, I subscribe, but my numbers have never changed for the last 5 years after redoing it. And just the same people, you know, we're saying 50,000, but it stays at like exactly 2,400 something. And I just laugh. I'm like, there's no freaking way. I know what's going on. I don't care. But long story short, when she started coming on with Daniel, I was just like, oh, this woman. She's a smart cookie. And she has this beautiful radiant smile about her, which is genuine, and you don't see it on those days. So you can feel it. You can feel it, and that's the Holy Spirit too, by the way. But well, Daryl, I appreciate you very much for coming on tonight. And I know
enjoy.
when there's it's hard, and when you get Lisa Hicks with ADHD, it's hard. I don't have any muzzles, but I can't wear one because I'm allergic. People do. Long story short,
You're breaking up a lot.
I
Sorry.
asked my ex to tell you all about that. It's a joke. So, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate you very much. I'll give you a call in a second, Daryl, and go over some things and send you the info, okay?
Okay,
Soul
thank you.
7 Cam, Kat, everyone. We have gosh, I think we had like 24 at one point. They drop off and come back on. But either way, to God be the glory. Yeah. All glory to Jesus. That's right. You know, that's funny. We both kind of said that at the same time. Amen. Yeah. I will talk to you soon, and Daryl will be back. Much love,
Yeah,
blessings,